ضبطها في لسان العرب. في النهاية ضبطها بكسر النون صنيفة، ظاهر فيها أكثر من ضبط. شايف النهاية ضبطها صنيفة الإزام بكسر النون، فيجوز فيها الكسر والسكون.
That's the first question. What does the ba mean in Hantam and the Naqir?
مقير. The question is about الدباء والحنتم والنقير والمقير. Generally speaking, these are containers that there is no air coming to it, and this is make تخمير, يعني a lot of alcohol is going to be. الدباء, this is a plant, you know, when they eat the inside, they may put some of these juices in it, you know, and by this there is no air coming when they close it, and this is will make it has a lot of alcohol. This is a dubba, a plant, well known. The Prophet ﷺ used to love it, you know, this plant, you know, and eat a lot of it, you know. But this is completely different than the container. The container may be called dubba when you empty the inside of it. Well, handam, they are jars. They paint it from outside to prevent the air to come to it, you know. Jars, in general speaking, you have the air all the time come out and in. But here when you paint it in special painting, and they used to paint it with green paint, this is going to prohibit the air of coming inside. Naqir, they used to have the trunk when you cut the palm tree, you have the trunk, what's left of the trunk. Again, they are going to dig in and make it as a container. Muqayya, you have this black pavement, the pave, I don't know what you call it, you know, what you use it for paving or whatever, this black material, they use again to paint or something of that regard around the container. So generally speaking, these four types of containers, they are a container that will not let the air get in, and by this you may have some alcoholic beverage inside.
Okay. Inshallah, the next question is, did the Prophet ﷺ recite the Qur'an upon Sayyidina Jibreel in all of the qira'at?
Yes and no. What do you mean by yes? Anything which is, we call it khilaf ada, that's mean maliki and maliki, or sirat, yes, this was read. When you say mad arid al-sukun, that's mean in any stop you may have 2 or 3, or 2 or 4 or 6. For sure the Prophet ﷺ did not read all these types, you know, of hudud on Sayyidina Jibreel. Okay, yani here, if the asker is specialized in qira'at, I would encourage that person and everyone, you should be familiar with what we call khilaf ada and khilaf wajib and khilaf jaiz, or khilaf riwaya wa khilaf ada. Okay, because to be honest with you, many of the specialized people in qira'at nowadays, they are not familiar with it, and they have a lot of mistakes.
Next question is, why should we not mention bad dreams?
Because the Prophet ﷺ said in one hadith, whenever you mention the dream and you have some type of interpretation, and perhaps without interpretation, when you said it, this is the interpretation of it, is going to take place as it's mentioned. That's why you shouldn't mention it.
During Isra and Mi'raj, is it authentic that when Allah ordered the prayer, Moses was sending Sayyidina Muhammad up to ask for reduction? He did that because he wanted to see more of the light that Sayyidina Muhammad was receiving from the upper realm. Is it correct that he was enjoying the light as he practiced it earlier when Allah appeared to the mountain?
We should always recognize between the narration, what's mentioned, and this is a must on everyone No one can say, no, I don't like it. Okay? And between the interpretation. This interpretation, I like it a lot. I heard it from some famous shuyukh, in Medina al-Munawwara, and I like it a lot. But I cannot dictate it on everyone. Okay? So here, I please all of you, since you have now the experience of having some type of narration, put always in your mind the recognition between narration and interpretation.
Next question.
And let me say, whenever you relate or interpret anything in the Quran or in the Sunnah, you do it according to yourself. You are deficient. Yani here, no one can contain the whole hikmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I sat down with you speaking about the hikmah of the Maghrib being 3 rak'ahs, if I have the most largest volumes ever, this is not equal to the hikmah in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's case. Okay? And this is, all of us, we should be familiar with this. Okay? Why? Because anything you have it from the human side is going to be deficient according to them. Anything from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is absolute. Okay? And this is the problem of many people, Many people of those who accuse everyone that is kafir, and for those who pretend that they love Allah and love the Messenger, both of them, in many occasions, they did not remember how Allah is absolute and how the creation, they are limited. And you have problem, I see, alhamdulillah, I don't have problem, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep me as such, but I see it's a problem, whenever I get through any of these two types, let me name them, Salafi and Sufi, both of them, okay? They don't have this recognition between how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even, let's assume, I'm not going to discuss it, even if you said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did know everything, okay? This is knowledge, it's knowledge of a creation. And it by no means it's similar to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, okay? Here I hear this comment, what do we leave to Allah? Okay? Here, when you relate knowledge to a creation, it has completely different thing than when you relate it to Allah. And this is not only for knowledge, any description, absolutely. Any description. You speak about power of Allah, knowledge, descent, Ar-Rahman al-Arsh, you name it, all of these matters, when you relate it to Allah, it is completely different than when you relate it. I give you an example. Sayyidina Ibn Abbas said, and the Sayyidina Abbas is one of the best interpreters ever. He said, when you read about Jannah, Jannah is creation, it's not God. It's not something to worship. Al-Jannah is a creation. He said, when you read anything about Jannah, whatever mentioned in Greek, there's no relation between that name and the name in this dunya except the name. The share between the two is the name. When you see grave, when you say palace, when you see river, when you see this and that, there's no relation at all. So here I look at it as a challenge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We will know Allah. Allah challenged us by creating something that is beyond our limit. Something that we cannot know it exactly. And that's mentioned by Sayyidina Ibn Abbas. So please, 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 everyone, be familiar with these facts. Allah is absolute. Creation, limited. Yes.
Next question. How does one do true muhasaba of his nafs, where he trains himself to stop a bad habit or sin?
I'm going to speak about my experience with people, not with me. I'm not that good, to make muhasaba. But to be honest with you, this is one of the major deficiencies we have nowadays. Okay? Why? Because generally, ask the physicians among yourself, Can the physician treat himself? If he wants to do appendectomy, let's assume this is the best surgeon ever. Can he do appendectomy to himself? It's impossible. Okay. And here we have the same. When you have disease or sickness, you cannot treat yourself. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ says, Al-mu'minu mir'atul mu'min. Okay? You should seek the advice and the help from the others. And this is the meaning was, I don't see the Muslim, they practice it a lot. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. I see the significant lack there. So the best thing when you want to make muhasaba of yourself, to seek the advice from those who are sincere, around you. And to be honest with you, we have problem because the one who gives the advice is unfair, and the one who receives the advice is unfair. And we have complete sickness there.
We know that the Prophet is infallible, but how do we interpret his humanly mistakes, like the incident with the farmers?
I go by an opinion of famous scholar. What did he say? As we have ayat mutashabihat regarding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have ayat mutashabihat regarding the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'm going to put it in this simple way. Since you are not prophet, you cannot, it's impossible for you to understand what was done by the prophet. Okay? And this is, when you say about the Prophet ﷺ, he's the master of creation. That means he's above all of us, When I try to understand him according to my silly measurement, here I'm really completely wrong. And that's why in Darimi it's narrated. You have two chains in Darimi to two companions, one to Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib and the second one to Sayyidina Ibn Mas'ud. He said, إِذَا سَمِعْتُمُ الْحَدِيثَ عَنْ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ فَظُنُّوا الَّذِي هُوَ أَهْدَى وَالَّذِي هُوَ أَتْقَى وَالَّذِي هُوَ أَهْيَى. And here telling you, upgrade your standards. We should upgrade our standards a lot to try to get closer, not to fully understand. What I mean, you should think whenever you hear any statement. Here, I don't think hadith means what we mean by hadith. Well, anything spoken about the Prophet ﷺ, you should upgrade your standard. The most guidance, the most righteousness or fear of Allah, and the most nice outlooking. Okay, you should upgrade your standards. Yes.
Why did Sayyidina Aisha agree to give her spot in burial to Sayyidina Umar? Wouldn't she want it for herself?
For sure, again, when we speak about such noble people, and I am myself, I'm too materialistic, and these are too noble, I'm speaking from my view. This may be the case, it may not be the case. Sayyidina Aisha, she explained this. She said out of her humbleness, when she was in the last moment of her life, she told her nephew Abdullah ibn Zubair, take me to Baqi', don't bury me here. Okay? Out of showing her humble to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there's a space. Even Sayyidina Umar was buried there. There is a space for Sayyidina Aisha. And I think in Darimi again, that space, Sayyidina Isa and Maryam is going to be buried there. Okay? So there is a space. Sayyidina Umar did not occupy the whole space there. But she did it at the last moments of her life by telling her nephew, just drive me to Baqi' with my colleague, with the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, out of putting herself, radiallahu anha, down.
What does it mean, وَمِنْبَرِي عَلَى حَوْضِي, or my mimbar is upon my pool?
What I remember, don't take my word, I sometimes may forget, that some of those interpreters of this hadith, they said that the mimbar, his mimbar, who was used to be in this life and got burned, after hundreds of years, that exactly that mimbar is going to be on the hawd. Okay, and this is our chance, those people who came later, did not see the mimbar of the Prophet, to see him, not it, to see him at that time. Okay, why him? Why him? Because in hadith, the Prophet ﷺ starts speaking about Allah on the pulpit, And the people start to get shaky, you know, and get back and forth, you know. And I feel this member is much better than 100 like me, you know. Because when some few verses from the Prophet start to get shaky, so I should see him, okay? So some of them, they said exactly the member is going to be there. And the other one, they said, this is that he, right away when the Prophet ﷺ spoke, was على الحوض, on the pool. This to tell us, يعني, especially the young person nowadays, he feels himself that he still have long journey, you know, to reach the pool, the watering pool. The Prophet telling you it was there, okay, it's available. And this is what we read in Bukhari, وَالْمَوْتُ أَدْنَى مِنْ شِرَاكِ نَعْلِهِ. And everyone, his death or his fate is much closer to him than the tie on his in his shoes. Yes.
Here it says in Arabic that
whatever I'm speaking now is not Bukhari, okay? You feel the difference, you know, between the authentic thing and what I'm speaking about. Yalla.
Here it says in Arabic, I'm not sure if I'm reading right, Sayyidi. What is...
May I read it?
Nahbad ibn.
It's in Arabic?
Nahbad ibn.
نهبي الإبل.
Nahbi Ibil, that's mean this were taken, you know, from the enemies or whatever, you know. They have some camels captured from the enemies. This Nahbu Ibil. The other Muzaffat or Hatama, I think we explained it already. Tasbih, I forget. What's Tasbih?
Are prayer beads mentioned in Hadith?
What?
Are prayer beads mentioned in Hadith?
Yes. You have intermezzi كخرزات في سلك. This is intermezzi, mentioned in two hadith intermezzi. Okay. The Prophet ﷺ gave example about the signs of the hereafter, like this. When you have a cut here, how they will come one after another. Okay. So it's mentioned in hadith. And you have the hadith musalsal. Sheikh Walid Hafizahullah Ta'ala, he took me to a sheikh in Riyadh city, and that sheikh, he has musalsal by tasbih, and he gave me masbah.
Is it conclusive based on this hadith that Rasulullah did not see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
We have different opinion, you know, among the companions, you know. Okay, so here I put myself, you should have, I call it adab al-ikhtilaf, the etiquette of different opinion or of dispute, okay? Even the mala al-a'la, the highest rank among the angel, they may have some difference in opinion, okay? But here you should have adab. If the companion, they have different opinion about this point, for sure, and even, I'm going to tell you much more than this. One of the successors, he said to Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu, the famous companion, I would hope that I met with the Prophet. I want to ask him something. He said, what do you want to ask him? He said, I want to ask him, have you seen your Lord? I said, I asked him. And he said, Nurun an-na'ara. Okay? Yeah, the Prophet ﷺ put a phrase that the one who wants to confirm or deny may take this phrase. Okay? Yeah, there are some differences, you know. You may live for them here and perhaps in the hereafter. Plenty of questions, answer all of them. Yallah, listen.
فَحَجَّ آدَمُ مُوسَى. Here he's asking, did Adam meet Musa alayhi salam?
If you mean physically, no, but spiritually, yes. And in some narration of this hadith, that Sayyidina Musa, he asked Allah, I want to meet with Adam. Okay? And if you read Hadith al-Isra, the Prophet ﷺ met with all the prophets, you know, in Masjid al-Aqsa.
Spiritual meeting or physical?
from the Prophet is physical. From most of the prophets it was spiritual, except Sayyidina Isa, and according to some scholars, Sayyidina Idris wa Ilyas.
Muslims are supposed to groom themselves. What is the fiqh concerning trimming the beard to make it look good, such as shaping, yeah.
Alhamdulillah, when we have our beloved scholars, and they are in the highest rank, and we should, whether we agree with them or disagree, we should highly respect them. Okay? And I spoke about Bukhari, I admire him a lot. I may not agree with everything was mentioned in this book, because Adallahu illa kitaba. Okay? Here you have those difference of opinion, and when you related them to the companion, we have the answer of Sayyidina Al-Qasim. Al-Qasim ibn Muhammad was one of the most faqih, educated one in fiqh in Medina al-Munawwara. He said about the difference among the companion, this is rahmatun wasi'ah, this is a broad mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And please, 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 all of you, don't limit, don't narrow the wide rahmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
There are righteous people who can be destroyed by affliction of Gog and Magog. Does this mean that believers are vulnerable to any of Allah's calamities to destroy people? If so, how do we protect ourselves from them?
You read in Quran, some prophets, they were killed. Okay? But since we are materialistic, we feel that this life is everything. And anyone lost his wife, he lost everything. His life, he lost everything. This is not the case. Okay? We should change our look for this. Okay? And we have some prophets, as we read in Quran, they were killed. Okay? So, and this is, we should fully understand it. This life is a passage, a path for you. Okay? And it's not everything, it's nothing. Okay? It's importance when you try to make it according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. Okay? So here, to be protected of this, okay, you say in the morning and the evening, I mentioned the Prophet Bismillah alladhi la yadurru ma'a ismihi shay'un fil ardi wa fis samaa'i wa huwa as-sami'ul 'alim. If you say it 3 times morning, 3 times evening, no hurt or harm will come to you.
Is there a narration in the sabra in the awwali sabra?
Yes, we read it in Bukhari, الصبر عند الصدمة الأولى, and in some narration, إنما. Yes, this is in Bukhari and Muslim, yes.
I did not understand the hadith regarding Zainab that states, اتق الله وأمسك على زوجك. Can you please explain?
Sayyidina Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he has a relative called Zainab. She is his cousin. He knows her from the childhood. He made her marry Zayd ibn Haritha. And she had some problems with Zayd ibn Haritha. Some of the family or spouse problems, at home. And Sayyidina Zayd ibn Haritha used to come and complain to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Prophet ﷺ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did make him, and this should be accepted by everyone, did make him know some of the future coming. And he did know that Sayyidah Zainab is his wife. Okay? But he used sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and this is, I look at it, too difficult and too great. Okay? He used to handle matters as a physical, ordinary, natural one, even though he knows this otherwise. I give you an example about it. One of his companions was killed in Uhud battle, called Al-Mujazzir ibn Ziyad. The Prophet ﷺ started laughing. And those Ansar, they said, "Oh Rasulullah, because one of your people killed one of us, you are laughing?" Because that Qurayshi and this one Ansari. Okay? He said, "No. I'm laughing because he killed him and he is in his rank in the heaven. This is, I cannot put it in my mind. Yani, I'll get crazy, about it. But the Prophet ﷺ, mashallah, steady and have all these knowledges. Allah.
What is al-aqid?
Aqid?
Yes.
I don't know exactly because I did not see it, but I think it's hard thing, derived from the milk product, okay? They dry it and make it hard, and by this it's not going to be spoiled or to have germs or whatever, and they used to take it from one place to another, for serving food and other purposes. That's what I understand. I may be wrong. You see, most one enjoy the time, the one who speaks, okay? So I have no problem. But those people, to keep them up, and I don't know, it's up to them. Give them that choice. I don't know. I cannot answer this question. You decide. Oh, you decide.
Continue for 10 more minutes.
Yeah, what I prefer, let me put this point. Those questions related to Sahih Bukhari, let's answer them. Because most of these questions, they are general and common questions. If you have something related to Bukhari, let's at least give them the priority. After that, if you want to answer other questions, I'm ready, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide me, because I have a lot of mistakes.
How does one explain Prophet's answer to Sayyidina Anas ibn Malik's question? Aina madkhali, Ya Rasulullah. And the answer was an-naam.
No, this is completely wrong. You misunderstand the hadith. Not Anas ibn Malik. A person attending that majlis, he asked the Prophet ﷺ, and he said, you are that person, you are in hellfire. This is not Anas ibn Malik. No, Anas ibn Malik, what did he say? He said, Ya Rasulullah, where I can meet you? Can I meet you in the hereafter? Because you have a large crowd there. He said, either you meet me at the watering pool or the scale or the sirat. Okay? This is Anas ibn Malik. Anas ibn Malik used to dream about the Prophet ﷺ every night. Anas ibn Malik, he is the one who said, when I see the Prophet hereafter, I'm going to say, Khuwaydumuka ya Rasulullah. No, this is, sorry, the asker here, he misunderstands. This is not Anas ibn Malik. This is a person attending that area.
In reference to a hadith, the question is, does this make it an option to eat at a non-Muslim host by saying Bismillah?
For non-meat or non-slaughtered, and the thing that they don't have meat or animal product, you may eat. But for animal product or anything derived from it, it has certain regulation. You should go by it. And this hadith, let me put it in this way, okay? This is, you have it in life always. You have high probability of halal and high probability of haram, okay? And this is the way we live. Everything in your life is high probability. You don't have anything certain except your belief in Allah and what's related to it. But everything, your activities, and in this life, it's all by probabilities or possibilities you go. Okay? So here, high probability of haram, take it away. It's prohibited. High probability of halal, you may eat it. But when you have some doubt or something in this high probability, you say Bismillah. Okay? This is the meaning of the hadith, the way I understood.
Here's a question. Says there was some hadith stating that we should not get up for people when sitting in gatherings. What about a scholar?
Again, this is misinterpretation. لا تقوموا لي كما يقوم الأعاجم يعظم بعضهم بعضا. When you have the intention of ta'zeem, this is prohibited in the hadith. When you have the intention of ikram, this is not prohibited. Why? Because we read in the hadith in Bukhari, قوموا إلى سيدكم. Okay? You should